Okay, cool. So welcome to today's workshop, which is 5 energetic steps to growing a 6-figure business, a 6-figure spiritual business, which is definitely a lot different than maybe a traditional business or a business that just has a different energy in its root or its core or its mission. So actually what I want to do is I'm going to pull a card for us, this is the Divine Abundance deck. And then I'm going to ground us into whatever the energy is that we receive that we need to focus on today. So I'm just going to shuffle this deck and I'm going to ask that the card comes forward with the most important energy frequency that we need to focus on today. One almost jumped out. So that we can all call in our next level of abundance. Okay, I'm gonna pick the one on the top. Perfect, it's absolutely perfect. So the card is self-love. And that's a lot of what my talk today is about. And it says, let the wall fall that separates me from my own vulnerable inner child. I long to take care of myself like never before. So this is a huge thing. Worthiness, shadow work, balancing the masculine and feminine energies, and really focusing on rest and being are extremely important parts of calling in more abundance. So of course we got the perfect card today. So this energy of self-love, and I really like to call it self-compassion, because love sometimes can be a little conditional. Love is much more easy to shift love into conditions than it is compassion. Compassion really holds no conditions. So let's take a quick, just few minutes to ground into this energy and get everybody in a good, clear energy field so we can all really receive these messages. And then we will go forward with the workshop. So just take a moment and close your eyes. And take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And if you worked with me before, you know that the 2 most important energetic things I work on are grounding and clearing our energy field. And so I'm going to invite you to send a grounding cord down from the base of your spine, sending that cord down through the foundation of your home or your office, wherever you are, down through the crust of the earth, through all the layers of dirt, rock, fossil, ancient ocean floor, magma, layers of metals and elements, and all the way to the core of the earth. And wrap that grounding cord around the core of the earth, anchoring you into the grounded, calm, peaceful, abundant frequency of Mother Earth. And just feeling for any areas of tension or tightness in your body and sending those down that grounding cord. And I'll ask that as each of us go forward into this workshop teaching, channel teaching, that each of us become a bit more worthy, that we each access a bit more self-love, and that we each access more abundance from this moment forwards. And I just like each of you in your head or out loud to just say a little prayer about what you hope to get out of today, or what point of struggle or conflict or pain in your life you would like assistance moving forward through. And it may be related to abundance, or it may not. It just could be whatever. Just say a quick prayer in your head. And then coming back to the body and inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, further anchoring that grounding cord down all the way into the core of the earth. And when you're ready, beginning to wiggle fingers and toes and come back to the room. Very nice. I feel like that was a good energy reset for everybody. I feel like everyone's faces are different now. So welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you guys want to just pop in the chat box and let me know where you are from and what you would like to get out of today, like whether you have a business or you're thinking about starting a business, or your business is going really well, but you want to take the next level, or maybe you just want to get into the frequency of more abundance, whatever that is, just pop it in the chat box and let me know where you guys are. Because whenever I do these events, I always have an outline and a general plan, but a lot of what I teach is channeled. And so I have an outline, but it could totally change. And depending on the energy of the group, also, I'm reading into what's resonating for you guys and feeling into your energy. So again, it could kind of shift and change, which is fun in some ways, because then I don't have to feel like I have to control and over prepare, but then you also have to really trust that you're ready. And I've done this enough that I do trust, and it's easy. But Carrie wants to boom to a much higher level. I love it. Okay, so 5 energetic steps for calling in really more abundance. And I speak to scaling to 6 figures because that's been my journey. But I am not done. I would like to continue to scale to multiple 6. And so as I'm here teaching you guys, I'm also in the energy of wanting to scale myself. And the interesting thing is that whether you're just starting a business and you want to make $1,000 a month, or whether you're consistently at 5 figures a month and you want multiple 5, wherever you are, or let's say you're at 6 figures a month and you want to hit 7 figures a month, right? The work is all the same. It's about working through these blocks that make us feel like we're not worthy. It's about working through the blocks of what some people will call self-sabotage, but I don't particularly like that term, but it's really limiting beliefs, and it's upper limits where we start to reach a little higher and then we hit it and we go like, I can't really operate at that frequency. I'm not really ready to take that much faith and trust. And then we kind of turn around and we run backwards. Let's see. Lindsay is at the beginning of her business and ready to grow and call in more abundance. I love it. Stephanie is looking for momentum and clarity as she shifts back to work from maternity leave and transitions into offering new service. Yeah, and the starting a business or shifting is kind of, again, the same energy, because, and I've been through this pivot where I was a straight up nutritionist, very clinical, and I have shifted all the way into a completely spiritual business with just a little bit of nutrition and physical support there. So you're going to constantly be pivoting. So even if you're just starting and you feel like, I don't really know entirely what my niche is, I'm not sure where I'm 100% going, that's okay, because it's going to constantly change and pivot and shift. Stephanie is happy to receive spiritual guidance for a growing business. Love it. Randy is building a coaching business and would like to be abundant, work through blocks. Started a business 3 years ago and it's not growing. Okay, yeah. And Lori looking to call in more abundance and determine whether I'm going to start a business. And yes, and Terry, I think I missed yours. Terry is looking for next steps, opening a food as healing business that will support physical, mental, spiritual wellness and connecting to the community. Yes. And of course, supports you financially. Yes. So that's the unique thing about these spiritual businesses that I said briefly before we grounded. Our focus is really on service. Our focus is really on transformation for people. It's not just someone who's creating a digital course. They're trying to sell 10,000 of them. And it's like all these strategies and techniques and sometimes you click on a thing and like you go into this, then you go into that, and then you're that, and then they're trying to upsell you with selling this and that. And you're like, oh, like, wait, where am I? And there's like all these algorithms within it. And each step is like, is meant to manipulate your psychology into buying. Oh, well, it's only $50 if I upgrade to this and that. That's not really how we work and operate. Of course you can do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for us, our work is really focused on transformation and healing for people. But you also get to be financially supported in that space as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is our blocks to calling in your soul work, starting that business, or scaling it to a level that you desire. And really the biggest block is typically worthiness. So I categorize them as the I'm too something or I'm not enough something. So I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm, I don't have enough training or certifications, or there's always, you're too much or not enough. And that's just the world we've been programmed to live in, right? We're constantly being told we're either too much or not enough. You're too old, you're too young, you're not healthy enough, or you're too healthy and people can't relate to you, right? So the thing about the I'm too this or that, there is a niche of people who wants your energy. Some people want to work with a coach who is in their 50s or 60s because there's wisdom there, or they're in that age demographic and they want someone they can relate to. A lot of people don't want a coach who's in their 20s or early 30s, right? Some people, when I was a registered dietitian, I would get the most crazy comments from patients, and they'd be like, well, what do you know? You're too skinny. How can you coach me on weight loss? Right. And but they don't know my journey, or if I was heavier, they'd say, well, you're too overweight. How are you going to coach me on this? You don't know. So those two, this or that, are just ego traps, and they're not real. Someone wants your authentic energy, and you have so much to offer in whatever physical state of life you are in. You don't have to be totally healed. You don't have to be this, perfect image of what a coach or someone is supposed to be. I did an exercise with my cohort 1 of my Abundant Ascension Business Mastermind, and I wrote down, and I had them write down, and then I did 3 columns. In the center column, what are the most valuable traits in healers, coaches, teachers that you've worked with? So I give everybody 10 minutes, and they wrote down all the things. And just think for yourself, what are the most valuable things? So maybe in the chat box, each of you write one of the most valuable things about healers, coaches, teachers you've worked with. And for myself, I would say that the person is relatable. So they've been through some of the stuff that I'm working through, and they've made it out the other side. I would say that they are compassionate and non-judgmental. I would say that the best coaches and mentors I've worked with are very intuitive, and they follow their intuition, and they don't really follow the rules. Connection, authenticity, relatable, compassionate, empathic. Yes, right? Okay. They listen. Yeah. So nobody said my ideal coach is this height, weight, size, age, has these credentials. Nobody says any of those things. Nobody gives a flying F about any of that stuff, right? It's really about your energy. People are buying your energy. Yes, their energy feels good to you. Exactly. Someone who meets you where you are and supports you in the movement forward. Yes, totally. So you guys can all do these things. You are all of these things. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be connecting with my information if you weren't already those things. So the I'm too this or that, start to work on releasing that. The second part of this exercise I had the group do was on either sides of that central column is what we have seen, appreciated, and liked about our coaches, teachers, healers. And on the side columns, we wrote all the things that we say about ourselves that make us feel like we're not worthy of being a good coach, teacher, healer, energy worker, whatever you are. And so you're going to see all the things on those outside columns have nothing to do with what's in the center column. So you can do this exercise, or I've kind of already given you the surprise ending, but it just goes to show you that what's in our mind is not a reality. And so working through that worthiness around, you have a ton to offer because you have a life story. And what most people are buying now, especially in the virtual kind of coaching world, is, and this goes to product sales too, because there's certain crystal shops I buy from on Etsy or on Instagram, and I buy because I like the people who are selling. I can get crystals anywhere. I can get crystals on eBay or on Amazon, but I want to buy from a person. So that's what people are looking for, is a human, and they don't want you to be perfect. Nobody likes someone who's perfect, because first of all, it's fake and it's inauthentic. So, and there's no such thing as perfection. So the more you can show up in your truth, and that might be messy mom bun in sweatpants and no makeup, and people are going to love that and resonate with that. You know, it may be like you're glamorous and you're out to dinner one night, but then the next day, like you're in your sweats and a t-shirt, and you're just like, hey, I have this cool thing I need to share, and you pop on and do it. People want authenticity, and they don't care about certifications, and they don't care about credentials. They really don't. People are more apt to buy a story than they are to buy into or invest into some ideal perfection thing. So start to watch yourself when you have those I'm too this or that. The other issue around worthiness is, do we deserve to be compensated for our work? Will someone pay me $150 for an hour of my time? Will they pay me $250? Will they pay me $350? Will they pay me $450? You know, will they invest $2,000 in a package? 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 90. You know, people are willing to invest at all levels. And so what we need are coaches, mentors, teachers, products at all levels of income. We need people at all ages. We need people at all levels of their spiritual development. We need people on all ends of the spectrum, because there's a unique niche for each one of us. And that's why it's so important for everyone to be stepping out and doing their light work right now, because you feel like you're not worthy in some respect, but somebody looks at me and goes, that's not my person, that's not my energy, that's not my thing. And they might be looking for someone who's more like you, who's not me. So just because you don't have the experience, or you haven't put yourself out there yet, or you've put yourself out there in a certain way, but you want to shift that, it doesn't mean that there's not a person for you. There is a set of energy out there that's dying for your energetic match. And the other thing is, you know, we have this, I'm not healed enough. I'm not, I haven't done enough. I don't know enough spiritual things yet, or whatever that might mean for you, or I don't know enough about food. Again, we need people at all levels. So when you're coaching people, when you're working with people, when you're selling them a product, the coach or the mentor or the teacher is just one notch above the client, just one, because you want to be able to reach back and take people to where you are. And so if they're too far behind, it's not going to be an energetic match, because they're not going to know what the hell you're talking about. You start talking about alignment and ascension and embodiment and all these buzzwords, right? And they're like, you know, just getting started on this kind of, oh, what is spirituality? You're going to be like, what? And you start talking about channeling and beings and mediumship, like they're going to be like, what? No, like I can't, this is too far out for me. So we need people, again, at every level. We need super high level teachers where I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just trying to keep up with you. Those are not my teachers yet. They might be. And as you move along your journey, some people are going to come with you the whole way. You're going to lose people. You're going to pick people up along the way. And so again, we need people at every single level. So you're never not enough or too much of something. You know, think about who inspires you and who you follow. Like some of the women that I follow are like really putting controversial stuff out there. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, I want to know how you feel about this. I want to hear what you have to say. So trying to fit into this mold of pleasing everyone is the surest way to attract no one, because people want your authenticity, you know? Like for me, I put a lot of energy out on my social media channels recently around medical freedom. And, you know, so I'm pretty neutral in that I'm not pro or con, but like, I'm very pro medical, like everyone needs to make their own choice. And so people who don't like that are going to leave my energy field. Do I want those people in my energy field? No, not really, because they're not aligned with my frequency. And so if you're putting stuff out there and you're losing followers, people are unsubscribing from your email list, that's good. That means you're narrowing it down to the people that are most important. And you don't need a massive following. You don't need thousands and thousands of people on an email list. You just need a few good clients who are going to stay with you for a while. So it's not about growing some massive thing and creating some huge following. It's about your authenticity, because your authentic energy is what is going to magnetically draw people to you. It's going to be what makes people want to continue to invest in services with you. And it's what's going to keep people following you along on the journey. Carrie said, confidence makes such a difference. I really fit in your previous retreat and I understand what you're saying. Quality for sure. Yeah. Like, don't hold back what your truth is. If you're too loud about a topic, like, too bad for the people who don't want to hear it. There's a million other people out there that they can go follow if they have a different vibe. So authenticity is huge, and you're not too much and you're not enough. And then again, that worthiness around receiving. So that's the work in the sacral chakra, is around receiving. Are you willing to receive support? Are you willing to receive money? Are you willing to receive compliments? And are you willing to receive good feedback? Do you believe that you are all of those things, that you are abundant in all those areas? So again, this comes back to starting to watch yourself, and where are you deflecting compliments? Where are you deflecting money, or saying, oh no, you don't have to pay me, or you don't have to pay that much, or like, you know, or when you put your pricing out there, you're like, oh, no one's going to pay me that. And not really, that's never going to happen. Right. So there's nothing wrong with that, because we all work through that again at every level as you move up. But yes, owning your worth. It's about owning your worth, and it's about knowing who you are and knowing how good you are at your particular craft. And this takes practice, but you are worthy. That's the most important thing. And if you feel like there's a self-worth issue, that's your solar plexus work. And worthiness, again, is going to come each time you move up a level in your business. You're going to have to work through worthiness issues, right? I've worked to the level of worthiness of 6 figures, and now I'm working to the level of worthiness of multiple 6. And my coach is working to the levels of 6 figures a month. So, you know, this is the stuff you're going to want to constantly get used to doing. You don't just do this one time, then you're like, oh, I'm done. I mean, if you get to a certain income level and you just want to cruise there, then maybe you are done. But if you want to continue to grow, you're going to have to work through this at each level, with each offering you put out, with each new service, and with each pivot within your business. So this is the constant inner work that is required to really grow a sustainable, profitable, joyful, fun, fulfilling, awesome practice. Second thing I want to talk about is balancing the masculine and feminine energies. And this is really about being in your power and not being in the energy of force. So the energy of, let's start with force, which is the negative pole. Being in the energy of force, you're working from a place of scarcity, of lack, of hustle, of push. It's a low vibration emotion when you're trying to force something. It's an energy of control, control is always rooted in fear. So watch yourself. Are you taking actions because you're afraid something bad will happen if you don't? Are you trying to do too much, just in the energy, I have to do this, if I don't do this, nothing about it, right? Or are you sitting back in your power and going, what is aligned and what feels good? I post 3 days a week instead of 7, the same following. I send 1 email a week instead of 2, same number of enrollees in a course, right? I work on my website when I feel inspired and when I want to write. Or are you trying to force it and you hate it and you're crying and you like can't figure it out and like you're not listening to what your body's telling you? So being in that power versus force is key, and making sure that you are listening to when your body tells you to rest and recover. That's the feminine energy that really needs a lot of rest, and that has waves in the energy of productivity and rest and productivity and rest. Whereas the masculine is like pretty straight across the board. We have to be balancing those two. We have to be working in with the female cycle as well. There's times of the month where you're going to have a lot of energy and a lot of productivity. There's times of the month when you're going to need to slow down and rest and not do so much. And that's very normal. And that's a very healthy way to be positively productive. And taking aligned action means that your actions feel good. That when you think of doing that work, you go, yeah, that feels good. I'm excited. I want to do that. That's an aligned action. When the action is, I have to send this email out, or nobody's going to sign up, but I hate writing this email and this is stupid and no one's going to sign up anyway, right? That's force, that's misaligned action. You are not attracting anybody in that vibration. So think about where your vibration is as you take action. There are also blocks to taking action. If you are dealing with unworthiness, or if you have some shadow work to do. So we're going to talk about shadow work next. But let me just read the comment. Terry said, how much am I willing to invest in myself and my business is the question up for me right now. Yeah. So how much are you willing to invest? What I will say in making, let me just tally in my head real quick. At least, let's see, 30, 50, 60, I'm going to say at least $70,000 I've invested in my business over the course of 3 years. The little investments I make, I get little results. The bigger investments I make, the bigger the results I get. So it depends. And when I make those big investments, it has to feel like a full body yes for me. Now, of course, there's always the ego that's going to come in the back. That's like, what the hell are you doing? This is a crazy idea. Why are you doing this? This is never going to work. You're going to end up in all this debt, right? That's going to pop in afterwards and like kick your ass a little bit. That's your shadow work to work through. But if you feel, so when I made my, I recently made like an $18,000 investment, just in late, about a month ago. And that's a big investment, but at the point I'm at, I've made bigger ones. So it wasn't that scary. The biggest investment I've made was a little over $30,000 out, and it was paid over, 15 months. When I took that action, my whole body was like, I want to be a part of this. I really want to do this. I need to do this. My whole body was saying like, yes, I see this and I want to be in that energy. I want to be with those people. I want to be coached by this person. Like my whole body wanted to be a part of it. And when I made that I think it was about $31,000 or $32,000 investment. At the time that year, my business had made about $40,000. So I wasn't making enough to make those monthly payments, but I knew if I made the commitment, then I would attract the money to make the monthly payments. Like I knew that when you go all in on something, when you tell the universe, I am making this investment in myself, in my business, in my abundance, in my future, I'm making this investment for my clients, I'm making this investment for all the right reasons, then I just knew I would be taken care of and I would be rewarded. And I had no idea how I was going to, no idea. I will tell you that when I made the first payment, within like the first 2 months, I got a $5,000 check in the mail, just completely out of the blue. And I just cried when I got that check because I was like, okay, thank you. Like, I know I'm supported in making this decision. This is 2 months of payments to this mastermind. And I just like, so you just figure out a way. It was the same when I moved into this house. I really couldn't afford this house. I had gone from making like, I tripled what I was paying before. But I just knew the energy of this house. I was like, this is my house. If I could design something, if I could build something, if there was a frequency, this would be it. And so I just did it and I went for it and I was always supported and I never even came close to not being able to make a payment for it. So my technique is come back to the body and see what the body is telling you. And then of course you have to look at, what if, do you have a backup plan if, do you have, yeah, do you have a backup plan if it takes a while for the momentum of that money to come? But when you're making the decision for the right reasons, I think honestly, you're always supported. And I can tell you that in that group where I invested over $30,000, there were 10 of us. And I would say probably 2 of the women could afford it. Like 2 of the women were making enough money that they just had that overflow of $2,200 a month. And they were like, yeah, no problem. I'll just do that. And the rest of us, the other 8, did not. Most of us were like, we just know we need to do this and we don't know how to pay for it. And I can tell you, those of us who didn't have the money, we had the most skin in the game and we got the most out of it. We made the biggest transformations. The ones who just had the money, like one of them never really started a business at all. The other one kind of continued some projects, but yeah, like it's kind of a hobby. So those of us who were like really had a lot of skin in the game and were like, we are serious. I don't want to call it a make or break because it would never break me, but you're always supported. And I've heard my coach Andy talk about this too. She made a huge investment and went and trained with Gabby Bernstein. And so I think when your whole body is saying, yes, 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 I need this, I want this is for me, then you trust that the support you need is going to come. And, do you have a plan too? Like a basic plan, like, right? When you're making an investment in your business, you have a general plan, and it's always kind of changing and shifting, but yeah, but having faith and trusting the process for sure, like Carrie just said in the comments, is a huge part of it. So, but I think the most important thing is check back in with your body. What does your body tell you when you think about that experience that you want to invest in, or that whatever. And also I think when it comes to abundance, we have to change our mindset around money as well. So having debt or taking a loan is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. If you think about the biggest multi-millionaire billionaires out there, how many investments do they make? How many loans do they take out? How many risks do they take every time they invest? They take huge loans, huge risks, right? They build hotels that cost multi millions of dollars, and then some of them don't work out, right? So it's like when you get into this entrepreneurial mindset and this entrepreneurial spirit, where you are seeing what you're spending as an investment and there will be a return, ask yourself, how does the return happen? So I just invested 18,000 and I just set the intention, within 3 months, I'm going to make this money back. I don't know how exactly that's going to happen, but I just set the intention, like, okay, I'm making this investment. It's no longer scary to me because I've done it enough times, and I'm going to expect a return within 3 months. And so that's just how I do it. When you get accustomed to manifesting and creating in your life, you will, and you do it enough times, it just starts to work and it just starts to come back to you. So like right after my daughter was born, I invested $5,000 into a year-long business coaching. And that was so much money to me then. My half of the rent was $600. Like this was a rent payment to me. And I had very little income, but I knew I wanted a virtual practice. And so I did it. And I was one of those people that had the most skin in the game because I was putting that $500 a month on my credit card every month. And my business was barely generating any money at that time. And I was still responsible for half the bills for my family. And I didn't really have much of a cushion. I had used all my savings in my maternity leave. And so that was a huge leap of faith, and it was scary and it was terrifying, but I just knew in my heart and soul, it's what I had to do. And then I spent another 5,000 on a really, really nice website because that was important to me. I wanted this is my storefront. This is my image that people get of me. I knew a really good website was really important to me. That's not important to everyone. It really depends on your own personal energy. And so then I made that $5,000 investment. And then, that all paid me back very quickly. So it's like, how much do you want to invest? How much do you want to get back? How serious are you? How good does your body feel? And the thing is, when you make an investment, you get a quantum shift. So when I made a $10,000 investment, I got that quantum shift. And the following year, my business made $56,000. When I made a little over $30,000 investment, that year, my business made $125,000. So it's like, if the universe works in energy and conversations. So they're like, well, how much do you want? How much are you willing to invest? How serious are you? Are you really listening to your body? Like, we keep telling you, you're not listening. Like, and it's going to keep giving you these little pain points until you take the leap and you listen. Or you're going to realize that, like, you know what, when I think about it, my body just actually doesn't feel that good. I don't feel that excited. Like, so for me, it's really about coming back to the body. Another thing you can do when you're trying to decide if making a big investment and starting or growing your business is for you is ask for a sign. So, show me a cardinal, show me a whale, show me have someone send me, have a crystal show up for me, like whatever it is. And you will or will not get your sign. Yes. So Carrie says, I'm finally listening to my body about eating intuitively. Yes, totally. It's the same thing. It's all the same as listening to that intuition. And so this is another step in developing your business, is developing your intuition so that you can follow it in making your business decisions. So when I made that big investment, I got a lot of shit for it. Like, my partner literally told me I was putting him in an early grave, and he didn't even know how much it cost. I never told him. He guessed it was half. Okay. And someone else said to me, like, I got that $5,000 check was an inheritance from my grandmother who had passed away a year before. So I had no idea I was getting any money. And my father said to me, like, oh, well, you just blew through that $5,000, huh? And like, both of those statements have really stuck with me. I've said them in other places before and other things, because it just showed me who believed in me and who didn't. My sister was like, yes, do it. Go for it. I believe in you. I know you can do it. You are abundant. Like, you got this. Like, it's okay to be afraid, but keep going. That's who I want to hang out with, right? The other girls in my mastermind totally supporting me in the same way. So, everybody's going to have an opinion, right? And it doesn't really matter other people's opinion. Using a degree of logic, like, okay, here's what the payments are. Here's what I have coming in. Here's the gap. Am I making the choice to use credit cards? Am I making the choice to use retirement savings? Am I making the choice to get a small business loan? What am I doing to support this process, or whatever you're doing? So you want to use some logic, right? This is balancing the masculine and the feminine, right? What is the energy of the body is the feminine, and what is the having a reasonable plan in the masculine. And then in between, not listening to the naysayers and not listening to them, the ego is going to pop in and beat you up as well and say, you can't do this. What the heck is wrong with you? Like, the ego, and especially you're going to get really excited about it and make the investment, and then like be so pumped, like, oh my gosh, can't believe you did this amazing. Then like 2 or 3 days later, your ego is going to start to smack you down. And that is your shadow work. So the shadow, and this is normal for everyone. Like, I'm telling you guys, people who are trying to make $500 a month off their Etsy shop and people who are trying to make multi-millions are all going through this all the time. The difference between the two is that as you get into these higher frequencies of money, you just have more experience and you recognize the patterns of the ego and you understand that they are not you. And so you get better at working with them. It doesn't necessarily get easier, but you get better at managing it. That is the difference. So that's where that shadow work comes in. And the shadow work is all about observing those shadow aspects of ourself that have always been a part of us, will always be a part of us, and that we need to integrate rather than deny, block, numb, or pretend they aren't there, or shut them down, or hate them and fight with them. So your shadow aspects around business could be worthiness. It could be self-judgment. It could be having spent a lot of your time working in force rather than listening to what your body is telling you is the next aligned action for you, or pushing too hard rather than taking the time to rest in between. So that's your shadow work there is, and listening to what the ego says, like, this is, you're irresponsible, you're crazy, you know, all those things. And just recognizing that the ego is just trying to keep you safe, but it's trying to keep you in a little box. And you ladies are not little box women. You are big, expansive, goddess, creatrix, amazing, powerful beings, spirits having a human experience. And that's the energy that you need to start to tap into, is that this is not about numbers on paper. This is about changing your life, changing your frequency, stepping into worthiness, stepping into abundance, stepping into your power, stepping into your ability to create your own energy field rather than being at the mercy of everything outside of you. And when you do that, that's how you shift people. That's how you change people. That's how you create a new experience and an expansion for them. Because we're doing this work for ourselves, but what we're ultimately doing is helping to shift the frequency of the planet, because we are all light workers in our own unique way. Eileen is a light worker for me because she's my assistant, and she does a lot of stuff that I hate doing, and she does a really good job at it. And so Eileen is not necessarily out there being a spiritual teacher right now, but she's a really, really powerful support person. And so your light work is different than mine, or it might be similar to mine, but we are all here to shift the frequency of the planet. We are all volunteers to go through this experience and help pull the collective along. And this is why I've now shifted into business coaching, which was a scary shift for me, right? The ego goes, who are you to coach on business? What do you know about that? 6 figures isn't that much money. Why would people want to go work with a coach that makes $500,000 a year, not you? What do you have to offer, right? All this crap pops into my head, and all this crap I have to go like, no, a lot of people want to make 6 figures, and that's a really nice lifestyle, you know, and you know, and a lot of people want to work with someone who's on the journey and who's being open and honest about it, and who is doing their own shadow work and shares about it. And so, you know, that's where I land, right? And I do know a lot about business, and I have found a very good balance of the masculine and feminine, because I lived in the masculine energy so hardcore for so many years. Like, I look back and I realized when I was in college, I was only friends with boys. I really didn't, I had like a couple girlfriends, but I always hung out with the boys because I was so in my masculine energy. Like, I didn't realize this until maybe a year or two ago. I was like, oh, that's why I only had guy friends. Like, and then in my career, I was so in my masculine energy. I was always in force. I was always trying to control. I was always in scarcity. Like, so I've worked through so many of these issues, and I continue as I want to go bigger. And so as my practice grew pretty quickly, I started to get tapped out with how many people I could serve. And I started to get tired by it. Like, doing 9 sessions a week started to exhaust me. And then the message I started to get was like, well, now you need to teach people how to do this, because your time in that space is done. And now it's time for you to teach people how to do that, so that, you know, you teach 10 people and then they each teach 1,000 people. And we've got now we've got 10,000 people. I could never reach 10,000 people one-to-one, right? So I just trusted, like, okay, I'm supposed to teach people how to do spiritual business, and I'm supposed to do it in a mastermind format, which is a bigger ticket, right? But why? Why do I do it that way? Because that's what creates the most powerful transformation. You know, I could do $200, $300 sessions any day of the week, but they don't light me up and fulfill me because I want powerful transformation for people. It's why I do 4-day retreats. It's a shitload of work for me. Like, you guys have no idea. We go from 6:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night. And there are hours and hours and hours of prep time and getting caterers and planning food and people bailing out and getting new people in and weather changes and all kinds of stuff, right? But I do it because the transformation is incredible and it's so fulfilling. And so when you just keep following what lights you up and makes you feel excited and makes you feel fulfilled, then you are always supported. And then you can make those big investments in yourself because you know that the work you're doing is really creating transformational change for people. So following your intuition in business, I mean, if you're a spiritual practitioner, is the most important thing. Do not make decisions based on numbers on paper. Like, don't. I did that for so long and it never worked. And now that I blindly trust and with faith and follow, I just, every time I'm rewarded. And you have to take that leap of faith on a regular basis. But I've never taken a leap of faith from a place of complete surrender, from a place of my whole body saying yes and not been rewarded. I've taken leaps of faith based on ego that I was forcing, that were uncomfortable, that were like nerve-wracking the whole time. And those decisions have freaking crashed and burned on me. Like, I know how to not to make a misaligned decision now. Terry says, I want 6 figures doing work that changes the world. Most of my history is working in nonprofit. I'm ready to support the life I have dreamed of, doing purposeful work. Yeah. I mean, there's no other reason to work. I don't know. Right. There's what else how could I possibly go back to work that didn't like feel so good and so powerful? There's no way to go back. So that focus on service, this is the 5th step here. When you surrender it up, I use this prayer. Show me, show me, show me. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. All the time. Every time I launch a course, every time I get on before this call, I'm like, just before I start making my outline, I'm like, tell me what they need to hear. What's the most important thing? This is not about me. This is about you guys. You know, it's not about, it's about putting it out there to shift for everybody, because I have found such freedom in my life that I forget that people don't have this freedom. You know, a lot of people are going through, in Rhode Island, there's a mandate right now, which only 6 states are doing. All healthcare providers either have to get vaccinated or lose their jobs October 1st. And I'm a licensed healthcare provider in Rhode Island. And so that affects me. They could come after my license. They could fine me, a lot of things. There's some loopholes I can get through. Like, I don't do face-to-face patient care. And so and I don't particularly practice as a registered dietitian anymore. So there's a lot of loopholes for me. So like, yeah, there's a threat against my license. Yes, there's threats of being fined, but ultimately I can just be like, all right, I just give up my license. Like, I don't care. You know, like, I have such freedom to just give up my license and do whatever I want and work 3 days a week. Like, you know, and a lot of people don't have that freedom. A lot of people are at this point where people are literally about to lose their jobs in Rhode Island. Like, it's only 6 states are doing this vaccine or lose your job for healthcare practitioners. But so it feels so nice to be so supported and protected. I feel so supported and so protected. I'm like, wow, there's all this crazy stuff going on. And like, it doesn't really affect me. Like, I've been listening. I've been taking the leaps of faith. I've been doing the inner work. I've been going forwards, and I feel so protected. I feel so safe, and I feel so sovereign over making my own decisions. And I'm in sort of a sense of awe about it on a regular basis. Like, wow, this shit really works. Like it really works when you listen. And I know a lot of you have taken leaps of faith and moved in the last year and a half, or left relationships in the last year and a half. And like a lot of you are taking huge leaps of faith. And so just remember that these leaps of faith you've taken with moving or ending a relationship or other things like that, the same energy applies in your business. When you take that leap of faith, you are rewarded. And when you seek support, you get to be supported. I could never have done what I'm doing on my own without support. So maybe this is the 6th step. Get support, because get a mentor, get a coach, get help, because I just could never have done this on my own. And so I did that big mastermind and I made this up level. And then I'm like, okay, this is good, but I want more. I want to scale this bigger. I want to reach more people. I want to make more powerful transformation. And I need a coach again to do that. And that's why I made this second $18,000 investment just about a month ago. And so yeah, it's very difficult to do this work alone, and we're not meant to do this work alone, right? This is community. We're meant to be in sisterhood doing this, and this is also in sisterhood. It's a healing of the divine feminine wound. It's a lot of what we're doing here too, because as women, we've been taught to be very petty, very judgmental. We've been taught to put each other down. We've been taught there's scarcity. We've been taught to be very inflammatory and emotional, overly emotional, right? Reactive in a very unhealthy way. And so doing this in sisterhood is extremely powerful, because you're healing the divine feminine wound for the collective as well. Because each woman who steps forward as an embodied, empowered, sovereign, spiritual, abundant person becomes an inspiration for others around us. So not everyone is meant to be like a coach or a one-to-one or write books or have this huge following. Some people are just meant to be a way shower, which means that you just show up in your power and you get to just interact with people on a daily basis. And they go like, wow, what is she doing? How'd she do that? What's she up to? And it doesn't just happen. It is a process, and it is continuous work to do that and to step into more and more levels of that. Like I scrolled back through my Instagram feed the other day and I was like, what did this look like 2 years ago? And I was like, oh, wow. Like what a transformation I've had myself. And then come look at the newest part of my feed and I'm like, I like this version of me way better. So, when you're a spiritual practitioner, or there's a heart-centered aspect to your business is you. So the more you focus on healing you, the more your business will thrive. The more support and love and compassion you give to yourself, the more that's going to be reflected in your business, and it's going to translate out into the world. When you have a spiritual heart-centered practice, it is you. You and it are the same. Like when you're doing good, your business does good. When you're not doing so great, your business doesn't do so great, right? And so it all goes hand in hand. It's all intertwined. And that's the cool thing, because your business is you. Your livelihood is not some corporation, some toxic, patriarchal, soul-sucking, greedy, corporation. It's you. And so it's a living, breathing extension of who you are and what you're putting out into the world. And that's a really fun thing to get to do. It gets to be really fun too. Like, I don't know if that always translates, but I'm always trying to have a good time. Like I'm always trying to make a joke out of the most ridiculous things that happen in life. And so it gets to be a good time. It gets to be joyful. It gets to be fun. And it's like life. So you choose a spiritual business where there's the pain of doing the shadow work and constantly working yourself and up leveling, or you choose the pain of not following your soul, of being at the mercy of some kind of other job or income source. You're right. So which pain do you choose? I mean, I know which pain I chose. And I can tell that, but the rewards of working through that pain, the rewards are disillusionally, the rewards on this end are, there's a disillusion that there's all this security, right? To stay in more of like a 9 to 5. But there's so much restriction there that the disillusion of insecurity or instability in running your own business, it's not really like, you can always make a pivot. You can always make it back. You have unlimited earning potential. You know, you can scale your business to 50 or 60 or 75 or $100,000. You can scale it to 1 million or 10 million. Like, it's totally up to you. It's really your choice. The sky's the limit. The world's your oyster. But what it comes down to is this self-love piece where you have to say, do I deserve this? Do I get to have all that? Do I get to have the money, the freedom, the joy, the fulfillment of really helping people make transformation and change, or really showing them a new way of living, or giving them a product that really changes their life and like they really love and cherish, you know? That's really where the question lies. Do you want it? Do you deserve it? Randy said, I've been doing a lot of work and have seen tons of personal growth, just not the abundant growth in my business. I needed to heal personally before I could imagine being successful in business. Yeah, totally. So the first year I started my business, it was slow. Like, it was really slow. My first year I made $14,000, and 10 of that I invested, right? And I was still trying to pay the bills and like do all these part-time side jobs and stuff. And but what I realized was that my business grew at exactly the right pace, because in that first year, I was not ready to hold space the way I can now, like not even close. And what I was also doing in that first year was a tremendous amount of physical cleansing and physical healing and detoxing. And I could not have handled that level of cleansing and detox with the amount of responsibility, the amount of hours in my business right now. Like, there's no way. So I was given the time and the space to do the physical healing. And we get screwy depending on our perspective, gets screwy depending on our own wounds and depending on our own life lessons. So my focus was always on the money scarcity. That was always my biggest wound. I saw it growing up with my parents. I had been in credit card debt since I was in college as a junior, so that was just always my biggest wound. So everything around the business for me was around money scarcity. For someone else, it might be around worthiness. It might be around whatever your personal, like, it might be around anxiety or fear, right? Whatever your personal wound is. But I missed, this is where I got screwy. I missed this opportunity where I was getting all this time to physically heal and to learn about myself and to heal repressed trauma. I had so much come up for me to heal myself. And then that's what made me a really good practitioner. And so if you're in this space where the money is not showing up yet, like you said, Randy, you're working through your personal healing. And so that's where you can get into that force, right? Or that excessive masculine energy where you're like, try to do more, call them in, do more work, create more of that, do more of that, like it's not working. You can start spinning your wheels. But when you can sit back and be like, okay, the money and the clients are not coming at the level I want to, why? I literally sat down and did this in my journal today. I don't know where I put my journal, but anyway, I said, why are these 3 issues showing up in my life? And the answers came through very clear. And I was like, okay, I accept these issues. I don't need to fight them. I don't need to go into scarcity. I don't need to go into fear. I just come back to my place of trust and surrender. And that's been a practice to get there where I can pivot that quickly. And I've been through it enough times to be in that trust and that faith and that surrender. But it still gets me sometimes, especially if something else triggers me, then those deep underlying fears also come up to the surface. like when my daughter was crying about something completely different, and then all of a sudden out comes, I miss my kitty. We had to give away a kitty that was like peeing all over the house. She'll be like, I miss my kitty. I want my kitty back. And I'm like, ah, there's your deep wound, right? That like is coming to the surface. So our deep wounds are going to come up when we get triggered by other things. But the point is that, you know, if it's not showing up yet, there's other work to do. And that's where like investing in yourself and doing this energetic work is so powerful, because that's what's going to create quantum shift. And that is what's going to call the clients, the money, the support, whatever it is that you need in sooner. When we resist the shadow work by getting into excessive masculine, hustle, only relying on logic and not listening to our intuition, not relying on our body, not listening to our bodies, we start pushing our desired outcomes further and further away because we're in the low vibration emotions. When we go, okay, I trust and surrender, you went into a higher vibration, you start to call it closer, call it in closer. When you go, okay, I understand the clients aren't coming yet. Why aren't I ready? Show me, show me, show me, tell me, tell me, tell me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready to do my own healing work so that I can call the people in to make change and to be abundantly supported. You went into a higher vibration, they come closer, right? The stuff comes up, you work through it. Higher vibration, they come in closer. You get a coach or you get someone you can talk to that helps support you and help move through it and helps give you a higher perspective. You get into a higher vibration, they come closer. So there's action steps you can take that are not about working harder, that are going to create quantum shifts for you. And that's where, you know, when we come back to that investing in yourself thing, when I make those investments, that's what creates the quantum shift, because I go deep into my healing work. Those investments for me are not necessarily about like, what hashtags should you use on Instagram? No, like it's important to use the hashtags, but no, like the people who need you are going to find you as long as you have a way for them to find you. And when you're ready, and you have someone that can do that kind of work for you, you can have teams that do all of that stuff, but you have to stay in the energy of being the business and creating the energetic space that people want to come to. Yeah. Carrie says, I just paid off my student loans at 51. Yeah, it's all good. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter too. Money scarcity is huge. Fear and abandonment, deep wounds of unworthiness, but working on them. Yeah. So these are the things. And I have to tell you, when I invested in my personal mastermind, and I've run 2 masterminds now, the first few months are not easy because everybody gets all they're like, the universe is like, oh, you want to do your shadow work? Okay, here you go. You want a quantum shift? Yeah, okay, here's all the stuff to work on. So it can be painful, you know, like you're gonna hit your rock bottom. But the thing is, when you go down to the depths and you get really radically honest with yourself, you start to, this is law of attraction work, you start to send out these rockets of desire where you go, okay, I'm in the negative pole. I do not like this. I do not want this, and I deserve better. And then you start to get really clear on what you do want. You want support. You want the clients to come to you easily. You want, you know, this or that. I did an exercise where I said, I'm forcing some of my marketing and sales stuff. I'm forcing it. Like I'm in a funky place with this. And I sat down, I did a ritual, and I wrote in my journal, and I said, the clients come to me. I don't go looking for them. I don't go searching. I'm not sprawling my energy out like, come on, please, I need you. I stay here and I am a magnet. And the next day, a friend of mine sent me a message and said, hey, I think I have a client who's interested in your program. And she signed up the next. So within 24 hours, I had a client sign up for a program referred by a friend. I did not do anything. And I was like, thank you. I would like more of this or something even better. So, you know, again, it's more and more practice with this stuff. And you start to recognize where you are and what energies are blocking you from growing into what it is that you desire. Because your desires come from your higher self when they are grounded in service. If your desire is to drive a car to impress your neighbor or make your parents think you're successful, like I did it, I'm okay. No, that's not a good, that's going to crash and burn, right? When your desires are like, I want to create more abundance so I can give more back, so I can create a nonprofit, so I can open a community center, so I can spoil my family so I can send my child to whatever college they want to go to. So they have all the opportunity to be in their power. Like when your intentions are of that nature to grow your abundance, that's when you get supported, and that's when you start to call in overflow, and that's when you start to be able to give back in more powerful ways. And that's the difference between a heart-centered spiritual business and one that's not. Not that another business is bad, but for those of us who are heart-centered and spiritual, it's often very difficult to do it another way because we are being asked to do our own shadow work. So a lifetime of others saying that I cannot do what I want to do for whatever their reasons are about who I am. It feels like it's in my cells. You can't succeed at this, but it is not my belief. It was put on me. So much of my energy work has been about releasing other people's energy from my field. Yes. So we've got familial patterns that we inherit. We have conditioning in our childhood, programming from our family, and we have programming from society. Imagine if hundreds and hundreds of thousands or 1 million spiritual women started making 6 or multiple 6 figures. Like the whole system of the United States would crash and burn. If everybody stopped buying GMOs and started buying from their local farmers, if everybody stopped sending their kids into toxic environments, if everybody started making decisions from their intuition and stopped buying into these systems of limitations, imagine what would happen. Like if women started to really get empowered, like I have goosebumps over my whole body right now. This is my work. This is my mission. And this is my mentor's mission. And this is what is being passed down, because this is what is going to change the world, is wealthy spiritual women. Because you have to have wealth and you have to have abundance in order to reach more people. If you only have enough for yourself, how are you going to make change outside of that? You have to have more than enough so you can be giving in other places. So this is dangerous. We're dangerous. And the system knows this, right? The patriarchy knows this. So there's going to be a lot of reasons that tell you you can't and you don't get to. And it's how people have controlled women, people in general, by creating this scarcity and creating all these fears. So we have to recognize and really rise above it and say that we are worthy and we can do it and nothing will stop us. And even if there's bumps in the road, like I've launched a course and nobody signed up. And so I didn't go like, oh, I quit. I can't do this. This is over. I just went, all right, that course was not aligned. And what I recognized was actually wasn't ready to teach it yet. And I also wasn't putting myself out there. I was afraid to really market it and sell it because I didn't want to bother anybody. This is another feminine wound. I know I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to send too many emails and people will unsubscribe. I don't want to sell too much. No, this is bullshit. Men go out there and they sell. I shouldn't be stereotyping men and women, but the masculine energy goes out there and it sells and it gets into its power, right? And it says here's what I have to offer. Do you want it? Cool. If you don't want it, I'm moving on to someone who does, right? That's the power that we have to be into. Been told our entire life not to share our personal business, when inside I always knew I wanted to speak my truth. Been speaking it and it finally feels right. Yeah. And you have to be careful who you share this stuff around, because it is power and it's going to freak some people out. And I don't go out and tell people what I do unless I trust them. I don't go out and say, oh, I'm a spiritual coach and I channel and I read chakras and do energy healing. I don't tell people that, because I'm not inviting people's low vibrational energy into my field. Depending on who they are, I give them different answers. And then some people are like, oh, cool, what is that? And they want to know more and I'll share more. But most people don't really want to know if they're not interested in doing the work. And so then it just, it stays up here and I don't go deep with those people. But my energy is go deep with people energy. And that's why I work in smaller groups, because I'm not someone who's meant to create a virtual course and sell it to 1,000 people. That is want to me. Sure, yeah, would I love to do no work and make the money for it? Yeah, but no part of me gets excited or yeah, let's do that. And it's not to say that those kinds of courses are not good. They're just not aligned for me, because I'm meant to go really deep with people. That is my the gift. That's my empathy. That's my mission as a healer. So we each have to find the way in which we're meant to work. I still have family members who don't want to hear what I have to say, and it gets in my way of believing in myself. Don't talk to those family members. I don't talk to my brother about anything that I do because he thinks I'm freaking crazy. I have a couple family members who will text me weird stuff or who will comment weird things on my social media. I just don't answer. I do not engage. If they want to text me, happy birthday, I love you, great. I will respond. They start texting me weird stuff, making comments and judgments about my social media, you will get nothing from me. Nothing. If you don't want to be in my life, that's your choice. I will not play with energy that is trying to drop me down or judge me or criticize me. Like, I have a Virgo moon, like you will get cut out so fast. So yeah, you have to make sure you're sharing in safe spaces. Women haven't historically had much sovereignty. I say that word to myself, I'm sovereign, I have sovereignty. Yes, totally. Energetic sovereignty. Once you grasp energetic sovereignty, then you have financial sovereignty. Look, we have second generation here with Eileen. You have financial sovereignty, you have sovereignty in where you travel, what you do, who you go with, but that sovereignty comes from within. It doesn't come from anyone else giving it to you. We have enough freedom in the United States, at least, that our sovereignty is our choice. It is our choice. And so if anyone's holding us back, it's not the people outside of us, it's our own selves. And you have to protect yourself for sure. Like, we're dangerous, right? Remember that. People don't want to hear about a powerful, embodied, spiritual woman when they're not on that plane. So yeah, be very discerning about who you share with. What else? What do I say to those that I don't feel resonate with me? Sometimes I say I'm a spiritual life coach. I used to just say I was a nutritionist. Just cut it at that. I say I'm a spiritual life coach, or I might just say I'm a life coach if I really I might just say I'm a life coach and I host retreats, something like that. Yeah, it varies. Like, I don't go like, oh, I'm an intuitive healer and an ascension mentor. Like, they're gonna be like, huh? So yeah. Lindsay says, I'm curious to know too. People have been asking me what I do a lot lately, and I find it difficult to answer. Yeah, come up with, so there's multiple elevator speeches, right? And so when you get in an elevator with someone and they're like, oh, hey, if I'm at a Gabby Bernstein event, my answer is going to be a lot different. I'm an intuitive healer. I'm a spiritual business coach, and I help women. I'm highly empathic, and I help women step into their sovereignty so they can create their dream life. Like, boom, that's who I am. That's what I do. If it's, my boyfriend's family that I've never met before, I might say I'm a life coach and I have a virtual business and I host retreats. And they're like, oh, cool. So if I don't know anything about someone, I might go down that path. If they've already been primed a little bit, like my neighbor started following me on social media, and I'm like, oh God, like, my social media channels are not for my family. Like, they're for strangers, right? Like, I don't want to know anyone that's watching and listening and reading. And because I know my neighbor is like, doesn't totally get, like, she's curious, but she just doesn't get it. So yeah, it's just kind of funny. And she never says anything about it, but she'll be like, oh, I saw you're hosting a retreat. And I'm like, oh, you're following my social media. So, which is fine. Like, it's totally cool. And I'm sure it's planting seeds for her. I know it is, but I don't go into it because it's too weird. So yeah, think about what you want to call yourself or tell people you do. You are allowed to disclose as little or as much as you want to. So that was so fast. That was our time. I'm obviously super passionate about this subject, and I could chat on all the things all day. And thank you guys so much for your comments and your questions. Those are like so incredibly valuable. Does anybody else have any last minute questions before we wrap up? And I also want to tell you guys, if this work interests you, I do have cohort 2 of the Abundant Ascension Business Mastermind opening. We're going to start early October. somewhere between the 6th and the 6th. I think we're going to start October 16th. And this is a year-long mastermind that includes a 4-day retreat, and it also includes a 2-day like connection kickoff weekend live in person. You get one-to-one coaching with me, 1 session a month, and then 2 group calls per month. Eileen just linked that. Thank you. And we do about 25% structure and strategy in your business, and then we do the other 75% is really dedicated to your own inner healing work and moving past those blocks and those limitations, and seeing this from a higher perspective, developing your intuition, and going really deep into those energetic steps so that you can move forward and really create this business that supports you and that creates dramatic change, and it allows you to be fully supported in your light work. Because if you think about some of the biggest and greatest teachers like Gandhi or Mother Teresa, modern teachers, right? Ram Dass and Wayne Dyer, they all had tremendous wealth because they were living in such a high vibration and such a high frequency that when you're at that space, you become a master manifester and you just get to create your life. And so that is my dream, is to help more and more women be able to create their lives and not be at the mercy of the ego, not be at the mercy of the programming, not be at the mercy of what other people told them was available for them or not, like to really create embodied, powerful, wealthy women who are going to help me change the world. That's my mission. And to do it in a group of sisterhood, I shifted to this mastermind where we do it in groups as opposed to one-to-one, because when I went through it, I was like, wow, this is a completely different and much more transformational experience. And now, having brought 2 groups through it, I see the sisterhood, I see the connection, and you get into this network. Some of you are already in this network where I have one client that's like, oh, I'm doing a session with Lindsay. Oh, I'm doing a session with Stephanie. And then like you're all, and so it's just amazing to see this network of women coming together doing this work. And like, this is just a dream come true for me. So I'm opening up that second cohort because it's time. The world needs wealthy spiritual women, guys. Thank you. You said some words that elevated me immediately. An Ascension mentor. Yes, I am an Ascension mentor. Thank you, guys. You are awesome. Yes, you are all creators. Thank you so much for being here. I love all the energy of every single one of you that shows up. Even if you're not here live, even if you're on the replay, I still see you and feel you. So thank you. And if you guys have questions about the mastermind, you can shoot me a DM on Instagram is the easiest way to catch me, or you can send me an email through my website, but there is an application at that page. And I'm here if you have questions and you want to schedule a quick call and chat about it and see if it feels like the right next step for you. Whatever you need. All right. So you guys have a wonderful week, a wonderful afternoon, and I hope I will be seeing more of you guys. Bye.